Hello again and welcome to Just Say No. That's no with a K, K-N-O-W. I'm your host, Maria Calabrese, and you're listening to KCAA Radio 1050 AM, 106.5 FM in the Inland Empire and beyond. I'm so glad you're joining us today on this special Black Friday edition of Just Say No. Because let's face it, if we don't carve out time for ourselves now, the next few weeks is going to feel like running a marathon in flip-flops. Joining me today is my dear friend and brilliant author of The Cannabis Gardener, Penny Barthel. Penny has been profiled by the LA Times as a pro when it comes to growing her own cannabis, crafting her own edibles and tinctures, and sharing with others how to add a little DIY magic to your self-care and holidays. She's here to show us how cannabis can be a game changer during this most stressful time. So grab your favorite cozy beverage, kick back, and let's take a little break from the Black Friday chaos to focus on you. This is Just Say No. Let's get started.
By 2020, Bank of America and Merrill Lynch estimate that will grow to $35 billion. And many experts believe it could eventually reach $200 billion each and every year.
Taking me a while to get it. Had to live and cry to appreciate life, and what you give is worth it. When you're holding me and when you hold me so close, someone feathering under your skin. Wanna leave a mark so that I can be
Welcome, sure Penny. Thank you so much for joining us today.
I am delighted to be here with you, Maria.
Oh, wow. Well, we're privileged. And I know everybody's dying to know a little bit about yourself and how you came to discover cannabis and what listeners can learn from your amazing book, The Cannabis Gardener.
Yeah, thank you for that. I'm going to say this. I came into cannabis very much sideways. I have spent a lot of my adult life. I've always loved food. I'm a total nerd. I love plants. I am a lifelong gardener, a cook, and actually sort of got myself going with a food blog. And on that, I had a couple of awesome recipes. One of them made it into Sunset Magazine in 2017. From that, I kind of got acquainted with the gardening culture. I always knew that there was weed in the Bay Area. I was neither for it nor against it. I was just kind of beside it. But about a decade ago, I discovered that a friend of mine was putting in a brand new garden, tons of sun, and the person who was helping her put that garden in had stage 4 cancer. And he revealed to her how much he used cannabis for his own well-being and to be able to help him withstand the rigors of chemotherapy. And although she and I were neither for nor against cannabis, she thought, look, I've got this great new garden. Why don't I grow some cannabis for him and gift it to him? And so she tasked me with figuring out how to grow it. Because I'm just sort of an experimental gardener. I'm like, sure, I'll try that. And I had some friends in the Bay Area. We grew a couple of plants together. We had a terrible grow. We did not know what we were doing. But through that, I decided to do the research to figure out, well, how can she grow this plant? I fell deep in love with this plant. Just fell in love with it. Started taking my own notes and went looking for a book that I could give to her. And there was not a book out there. There was lots of information for the commercial grower, lots of information for indoor grows, but nothing that situated this plant where I wanted to grow, which was in my garden. Since that time of a decade ago, or a little bit less than that, I have been on a journey of my own, growing the plant and then enjoying it and using and experimenting with it. I decided to go a little deeper in, and I went to Oaksterdam, which is a school here in Oakland that teaches the cannabis industry, teaches people to go and work in the cannabis industry. So I took a horticulture semester. So I'm a certified cannabis horticulturist. I came in sideways as a gardener and a cook, and I ended up a cannabis author and educator.
Would you say it's true of anyone who's part of a backyard gardener that just has a love for plants, that if they become acquainted with cannabis, it's going to have the same effect on them? They're going to fall in love?
I think so. I've got friends who grow it and don't use it. They have a lot of good friends that they give it to, but they are so in love with this plant. We'll get perhaps more deep into the weeds, as like I like to say, on how to grow it. But I'll tell you one thing. It goes from a tiny little seed to, in my garden, a 9-foot tall monster of a plant in 4 months. So from seed to dried bud in my jar in 5 months. It's a really fun plant to grow. Real easy too.
It is. I actually tried it myself, and we'll talk about that too when we get to growing it at home. Today is our Black Friday special edition, and we're going to take a green take on this Black Friday, where we're prioritizing wellness over consumerism. And did you know that Black Friday originally started in Philadelphia in the 1970s and had absolutely positively nothing to do with shopping? I like to make the metaphor that cannabis started out as a Schedule 1, but it really has absolutely positively nothing to do with Schedule 1. But no, little
Maria, I
right?
like to say this. I like to say cannabis was framed, right? Cannabis was framed. It doesn't belong there, never did. It belongs in the garden. And I love what you said.
And Penny, you know who else was framed? Eve. I always like to say Eve was framed. Started in the garden. It always starts in the garden. So there you go. But yeah, what happened with Black Friday, I guess the police used that term to describe the chaos that was generated from shoppers wanting to get out early the day after Thanksgiving to hit the sales, but they wanted to get home in time for the Army-Navy football game. And it just was a frenzy. There were traffic jams and everything else. So it got coined by the police in Philadelphia as Black Friday. But then in the 1980s, retailers grabbed it. Hey, marketing, let's make it this shopping extravaganza. And it's when the stores finally went into black and became profitable for the year. So would you say, from your experience, that this hands-on DIY approach, rather than just, even in cannabis, there's so many, I'm not bad-mouthing them, but there's so many emerging brands and products and gadgets. Would you say the DIY hands-on approach has it's been more meaningful and sustainable way to even nurture yourself, especially during the madness and pressures of the holiday season?
Oh, yes, for sure. You can't. There are young people today who have grown up with just dispensaries, and they think that you go to a dispensary and you get stuff, and that's cannabis. There's a big analogy between cannabis, I think, and food. Meaning, if you've never lived on a farm, if you've never grown anything in a garden, and you go to a store, there's a strong association between, here's this thing that I buy in a store, and that's what we eat, right? Well, there's a whole lot more to food, of course, than just going to a store. And I'm going to say the same thing is true with cannabis. It's only very recently that cannabis was considered anything other than just one of many medicinal, and I will call them culinary herbs in the garden. But today, just like how Black Friday transformed so recently, that's a very recent thing. Cannabis just it's only recent that it's something you could buy and that it was in preparations. That's brand new to the human experience. But for all of human history, let's go back. Humans have been interacting with cannabis for, we don't even know how long, 12,000 years, 15. There's documentation that goes a long time back. So we've had a long time to experiment with cannabis and enjoy it, both as a euphoriant, something for health, for fiber, for textiles, for food. You can use it for building materials. But it's only post-prohibition, which was really started in 1937, and it still exists in some parts of the country today, that we've thought of cannabis as a drug, or B, something you buy in a store. Those two things are brand new. So for me, when my relationship with cannabis is very much as a being in a way. It's a plant. And by the way, hot tip for gardening. You asked a little bit about gardening. To grow cannabis is easy, but you have to know the plant and then give it what it wants. That's true for all plants. Cannabis,
I was just going to say, it's true for everything in your garden, right?
That's it. Like how do you grow a plant? Well, figure out what it needs and give it to it. That's gardening. In a nutshell.
That's just, and it's the same for parenting. Find out what it needs. What did you say the formula was?
For plants in particular, what does it need? Give it to it.
And get it to it. That's it.
Just give the plant what it needs and it will respond with huge abundance.
That's growing. And you share the gift of this abundance. I mean, just in the book, it's incredible. I really enjoy it. I enjoy reading about the science of cannabis and the molecules, getting down to the molecular structure. But this is just, it's such a unique literary work because you really do treat it the way it should be treated, like anything else in your garden or that you would grow. And if you don't grow, then that you would buy at a farmer's market or eventually at a supermarket. So as we dream ahead of our gardens for the spring, what would we be thinking about now when it comes to adding cannabis? Or, I mean, do you use seeds? How do you choose a seed? What should we be thinking about as we're thinking about our spring?
That's a great question to ask. If gardeners know that gardening is year round. Even if you're not outside, you're gardening in your head. And so winter is the time when all the seed catalogs come to your door and gardeners just pour over the pages and salivate. Ooh, I'm going to grow this year and this and that. So it's seed picking time. But with cannabis, I want you to back up one step and ask yourself this, especially now that when entering the holiday season, you can have perhaps some additional drain on your time and energy. A lot of people have gatherings they need to go to. Those with social anxiety might feel a little worn out by these things. So ask yourself this, in another year, how do I want to feel? Do I want to feel calmer? Do I want to sleep a little bit better? Maybe have less pain? Good, because that is the first question you ask yourself before you buy anything to grow cannabis, which is a summer annual. What do I want to feel? What do I want from this plant? And then you can start winnowing down your needs and choose the right seeds to buy. So that's the first step is going to be, of course, getting some information is very helpful, and my book is a good source of that information, so that would be another thing to buy. But you can actually start deciding, what do you want from cannabis? And you have to know that before you can even decide what type of cannabis to buy seeds for.
You have to know the intention behind it. And I do that with tomatoes. When I start dreaming and thinking about my tomatoes, it's like, what do I want them for? Is it for sauce? Is it for gravy? We call it gravy in the East Coast Italians. Do I want to eat it raw? Do I want it for a salad? So you're interesting. Some people don't even know what they could grow cannabis for. So can you just list, some of the
I sure
things?
can. One of the classes that I teach is called Cannabis 101, and I teach this with my business partner, Keisha, through our business Wondering About Weed. And we offer classes to adults, and we start every one of our classes with a question. Why are you here? What do you need or want from cannabis? And I'll tell you, here are the top 3 things. Top 3. Number 1, pain. People come in saying, from little aches and pains to big aches and pains. I've heard cannabis can help with pain. Is that true? Answer, yes, absolutely. It has wonderful health promoting properties and can be very effective at treating especially chronic pain, inflammatory pain, but also neuropathy. And there's more nuance to how that works. But that's number one. Number two, how about sleep? Somebody said I should take a gummy. What do I do? I've heard cannabis can help with my sleep. Yes, it can. And it's a bit bigger answer. There are a number of different ways and different cannabinoids, which is a special group of molecules made by the cannabis plant. So sleep is number two. Number three is anxiety. That's anxiety. And so those are the top three, I would say, health reasons or that people come to cannabis outside of the obvious, which is I love getting stoned. And I'll say, yes, absolutely. Cannabis does that too. So that aside, and we're going to say that's why they call the rec market. It's billed as that. I like to say the term adult use. So there's medical, and that's often how it starts. People get warmed up for using a medical license through state legislation, and that's how California started. And then there's adult use, meaning you don't need to have a medical reason. You can just enjoy it. Those on the inside of cannabis would say, even if you're using cannabis just to get high, it's still medical. It's still going to do some good for your body if you don't overconsume. But those top three.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, just like if you're, drinking orange juice just for the pleasure of it, you're getting health benefits. You're getting vitamin C, you're getting phytonutrients, you're getting fiber. All right. So now I come to your workshop and I say, I want something for those top three. Guide me.
All right, here we go. First of all, I'm going to ask you this question. How many plants do you want to grow? And let's just say, how many plants do you want to grow, Maria?
Well, I am going to check down to my local county to find out how many I'm allowed to grow. I happen to live in Southern California, and where I live, I've checked, and as of now, I'm allowed to grow up to 6 plants.
Oh, fabulous. That's far more than you could ever use, truly.
Oh, really?
So, I'm going to say this. If you are growing just for yourself, and you are a pretty average, kind of new to cannabis consumer, but you'd like to have, abundant product at the end of the season, I'm going to say you can get away with growing 2 plants. I grew more than that. So you could grow up to 6, and you can try that. But let's just say you just grow 2 plants.
Okay.
You could have at your disposal just about everything you need for all 3 of those different things that we talked about, sleep, pain, and anxiety. But they're 2 different types of plants. They're both going to be cannabis. They're both going to grow as a summer annual. But one of them should give you a lot of THC and little CBD. So I just used 2 words, THC and CBD, that might be familiar to most of your listeners, but if not, let me clarify. They are the 2 most abundant cannabinoids found in the resin on the cannabis flower. And those are the things that we're really after. That's why we grow cannabis for the large part. So you want a high THC plant. You have hundreds of varieties to choose from. That's very common. Marijuana and hemp are the same species of plant. They are both cannabis sativa. That's the botanical name for this plant that we're all growing, whether it produces a lot of THC, a lot of CBD, some of both, or even other cannabinoids. They are one species, and they grow just about the same. So you're going to grow 2 plants, one with high THC, and the other one is going to be filled with CBD in its ultimate product. So with those 2 plants, you now have the raw ingredients to create just about anything you could possibly make with cannabis. It's going to, if you want to lean on, let's just say you're feeling anxious, you want something to calm you, then enjoy some of the plant that produces CBD. Let's just say you want to get really elevated. Well, you're going to want to lean a bit more heavily on that plant that gave you a THC weed. And for pain, it depends upon the type of pain, but let's just say everyday pain, you might have something you want to reduce the pain for in your body. Having a little bit of CBD and THC in the same preparation, that's the golden ticket. So those are the only two plants. Now in my garden, because I just love this plant, and there's huge variety, not just with cannabinoids, but then there's this other layer called terpenes. And that's what makes cannabis smell, I think, so delicious and so strong at the end of the growing season. You don't smell cannabinoids. You can't smell them, but you can smell the terpenes. So know that that's another class of molecules that this plant, and all plants make terpenes, by the way. Not all plants make cannabinoids, really only cannabis does, but all plants make terpenes. So you might have two different plants, both of which get really big and look lovely, two cannabis plants. One smells more like lemon and pine trees. The other one has fragrances of vanilla cake and grape and cheese. It's amazing the amount of delicious smells. But those delicious smells work with the cannabinoids in your body to alter the perception of the cannabinoids. So one might give you a high that feels like you're real focused and maybe a little bit very alert and awake.
Activating.
We sometimes in the cannabis industry, they might call that a sativa-leaning effect or a head high. Those terms are really changing, but that might be the old way of describing that high. Even just with a high THC plant, you may have terpenes that make you feel calm or sleepier. So those would be maybe called a body high. And I will say that most of that language, body high versus head high, the key word there isn't the body or the head, but the high. So the key thing to remember for people, especially if they're new to cannabis, is to understand how much THC or CBD is in any given product, and then how potent is it. That is the key determiner. Now, the nuances of how that THC might hit in your body or in your mind are going to be impacted by the terpenes, but that is of secondary importance. So focus first on what's the cannabinoid content of weed, fresh flower bud if it's dry that you're going to smoke it or vape it, or more importantly in edibles, it's very important to know how much THC and CBD that you're getting, and especially how much THC. That's really the one to pay attention to, because that is the only cannabinoid that makes you feel euphoric. The others have an impact.
That's a whole other reason to grow your own, because then you can really know that with certainty.
Yes, for sure. So with that, Maria, you have every ingredient that you need. If you've got a high CBD cannabis and a high THC cannabis, that's most of what you're going to need.
I love dreaming about this. Now we're into the spring. We're doing our garden, but then we're just coming off of October, Croptober. How do you harvest it or dry it or cure it or store it, and when is the best case use to use the fresher? Just walk us through. Now, Penny has a great Substack article. I have all this weed. Now, what do I do with it? We'll put that on our show page too.
Oh, yes.
But if you could talk a little bit about then the harvesting it and the drying and the curing, it does feel a little overwhelming, but maybe not.
Yeah, it is a lot. I will say for first-time growers, it's important to understand that you start with a seed, although you can buy these little things called clones. They are not clones, they are rooted cuttings. I steer all of my outdoor garden growers to seeds. They are healthier, you have a huge amount of variety, and they tend to be very strong growers. So you're going to start with a seed. That's key. Great seeds. Other than good seeds, you need a garden spot that has a lot of sun. That's very important, so you can't get away with shade. And then you need good rich soil. You water it through the summer, because here in California we don't get much rain. That's it in a nutshell. There are two of my favorite seed companies. One's a grower in California, the other's in Oregon. Here's why I love both Emily Gogol at Grow It From Home and Nat Pennington's company, the Humboldt Seed Company. They are excellent breeders. They are scientists. They understand cannabis genetics and breeding. They have high quality seeds, but they also offer, and here's a key, they offer feminized seeds, because there's a special technique that you'll only get female plants from certain of their seed selections. So make sure you look for high quality seeds and feminized seeds, go to the Humboldt Seed Company and grow it from home. And you can also order these online. They will show up in your mail, and that is probably the greatest cost savings in the world. If you were to get some high quality seeds, they have about a 100% germination rate. You need out of 5 seeds, you're likely to get 5 plants, maybe 4 if you're not terribly lucky. But that's a whole lot of cannabis, people. I routinely get a half a pound of dried cannabis bud from each of my plants that are full-size plants grown in my garden. Let's just say you get a quarter pound of dried cannabis bud from each of your plants. That's a very significant amount of high-quality cannabis bud. So if you spend $10 on one seed, which is kind of the going rate, it's still a bargain. And so look for some high quality feminized seeds. If you don't plant them all this spring, that's okay. They will last for a couple of years, and you can plant some next year and some the year after that.
Do you have to do anything? People ask me all the time, ask her, or you're having Penny Barthel on, ask her about propagation or putting seeds on paper towels, or are there all the... No, 2 plants is going to be enough. No, yeah?
Seed, it's an easy to grow seed. It's as easy as planting a seed for a bean and watching it grow. They're really that easy to grow, but you have to get the right seeds. You want to get high quality seeds and feminized seeds. So keep that in top of your mind. I need to buy a feminized seed. That's key. So you won't have any male plants in your garden. You grow it throughout the summer. It grows beautifully. It grows fast. Of course, there's a couple of tips and tricks to that. So, you might need to come to a garden workshop to learn that your first time growing. But then come in California, when we harvest typical or photoperiod cannabis, which most of it is, it's going to actually, Los Angeles is going to harvest sooner than, for example, where I am in Northern California, and certainly sooner up than Oregon, because it has to do with changes in daylight. It is, and you have changes that are a little sooner than up north in terms of how daylight changes into nighttime throughout the seasons. So you're going to harvest it in September, at the very latest October. Almost all cannabis is then dried. And we're not saving the leaves, by the way. We're not saving the stems. We're not saving fruit. We don't want it to produce fruit, which is seeds. We are saving the unfertilized female flower bud. Inconsequential little flowers. They don't look like pretty flowers that you would see in a florist shop because they don't need to attract pollinators. They are wind pollinated. So they're little thick groups of flowers that we call colas. They're extraordinarily sticky with resin. They smell incredibly strong and fresh and wonderful. And then you dry it, and boom, that's your weed that you have. It's ready to go by mid-October, late October. It'll be dry and ready to use. And
how do you store it? How do
you store it in, after it's appropriately dried, you just pack it into either glass jars that are airtight or Mylar bags. These are food storage bags that kind of look silvery. They're widely available online. And you want to make sure that you're not using like a Ziploc bag or something that's polyethylene. That's not the best way to store cannabis. You want to store it in a cool spot with no light. You don't want to have direct sunlight on it.
Okay. So you could use a dark jar, or if it's a transparent jar, put it in a dark space.
Yes, a cupboard in a cool place. You don't want to have great fluctuations in temperature. So keeping it, below 70 degrees if you have a basement or someplace that's cool, that's a very good thing. It'll help keep your cannabis fresh for the longest period of time. No light and little oxygen, because oxygen, light, heat, and then time are the 4 things that make your cannabis lose its peak of freshness over time. Cannabis, good for about a year, and then I use it for something different. But for fresh use, dried cannabis, I like to use mine every year, so I grow it every year.
This is the fun part, using it. So how do we savor the fruits of our cannabis garden? Yeah, I mean, I'm going to let you run with this, but I saw something in here that caught my attention, something called a vanilla bean infused CBD gummy. Whoa! You're not going to find that anywhere on Black Friday, let alone on sale. I could tell you that.
Oh, cannabis is so.
Yeah.
I said at the beginning, I came into this sideways, and I came in as a cook and a gardener. Those are two of the best skills you could possibly have for understanding and enjoying cannabis. I also have a degree in nutrition and food science from UC Berkeley, so that helped me with a bit of the biochemistry that this fabulous plant gives us. But that does not mean that you need to have any education in food or gardening or anything. You can start out as I've never gardened before. I don't know what I'm doing in the kitchen. And I'm like, fine, you are in good company and you don't need to. Once you grow this plant, there are a couple of key things in which you take the goodness of the resin on the flower and you make it available to our bodies. So in my book, we talk about how to make a tincture. So that's my number one product that you would make. Super easy to make, and it's very flexible. A tincture is something that is probably the oldest way that people have consumed cannabis other than smoking it or inhaling the charred vapor. A tincture is just, you take some sort of spirit. I like to use Everclear or grain alcohol. And you soak your cannabis bud in it, and then the resin from the cannabis moves into the alcohol portion of that. You get rid of the plant material. You've got this neat little, very potent tincture. You won't find tinctures, by the way, in dispensaries because dispensaries are not allowed to sell anything with alcohol in them. They will sell cannabis drops, but they are oil-based.
Okay, wait a minute. I'm sorry. We're not doing a legal update today, but that's amazing. Legal dispensaries can't sell anything with alcohol in them. But what about the corner liquor store? Okay, I'm just saying.
Oh yeah. Oh, the tangled web that we need. If we just had left this plant alone, we wouldn't have these weird distinctions, right? Let's just put it back in the garden where it belongs.
I did not know that they couldn't
So they
sell
are
anything.
because they want to divorce or keep separate certain intoxicants, one of which is alcohol and the other which is THC. So they want to, okay, we can't let those two things mix because that's just too potent. And that sadly relates to even the minuscule amounts of alcohol you would ingest taking half of a milliliter of a very potent cannabis tincture. Anyway, it's so inconsequential, but here's the cool thing. You can make it at home. You can have it at home. You can't buy it anywhere. It's just not for sale anywhere.
Wow.
You can't buy this in a dispensary. You can't buy it in a liquor store because they're prevented.
What's
So
in the
isn't that
tinctures
cool?
and dispensaries?
Now you've got this.
Very cool. So the tinctures and dispensaries is the oil that it's in.
It is,
that
and
right?
they're wonderful.
Oh.
There's nothing wrong with them, but
But they're not water soluble and they don't mix so well. Go ahead. I'm going to let you
So a
go on.
tincture is my starting point. If you just make one thing from your cannabis flower, make a tincture. But with any given flower, you can make two tinctures. You can make one tincture with bud that's just dried, but it has not been heat treated or decarboxylated. So you get access to the raw cannabis, the raw cannabinoids in that one, or you decarboxylate it, which is a pretty simple thing to do. You just put it in the oven for a certain amount of time. And then you make a tincture with that, you get a very different cannabinoid profile, we like to call it. So you have two different products from one type of plant. Let's just say you grew one plant. Well, you have you have two different main cannabinoids going on there. One is the acid form, and the other is the stable form, the one that we are more familiar with. So that's a tincture.
You have in the raw form from the CBD plant, you have CBDA, and you can
Yes.
have that in your tincture, or you could have THCA and that in your tincture, or you were saying you could apply heat to them, decarboxylate them, put them in your oven, and then have CBD or THC. So
Exactly.
in theory, you could have a raw form tincture, or I like to take tinctures that mix THCA with THC and CBDA with CBD.
Yes.
I feel a real benefit for pain doing that.
You are, and you have intuited something that's cannabis science is starting to reveal in the lab as well. So having both raw and decarbed cannabinoids or stable form cannabinoids together are finding that researchers are finding the best and most profound health benefits from the combination of those cannabinoids.
Wow, I experienced that
Ooh,
with
isn't that wonderful? So that's just think about that. You grow this, you soak it in some alcohol. After a couple of days, you strain it out. There's a little bit more to it, but not a whole lot more to it than that. You've got this delightful, potent, little transportable stuff. One of my favorite things to do with it that you cannot do with cannabis oil drops is to put it in a sparkling beverage. It is delicious. It is
wow.
wonderful for
Now,
the
do
holidays.
you perfect for the holidays?
It's
Yes,
great. It
especially,
tastes
if people are cutting down on alcohol. You talk about sleep, pain, and anxiety. Alcohol's not so good for any of those three. So a lot of people are looking for something different. So wow, wow.
And the second thing, now, a lot of people might be familiar with cannabis brownies, right? There was a woman named Brownie Mary who was super famous in the cannabis world for sneaking in cannabis infused brownies to those patients who were suffering from AIDS, miserable.
Oh,
She'd bring them
oh
in
yes,
brownies. All of a sudden,
yes,
they felt better.
yes.
They could eat. They had better lives as a result. She was quite a maverick in the day, but that pot brownie is a thing.
The brownies, though, when I talk to people, especially of my age range, they're really, really scared of edibles, especially brownies.
Well, there's some basis for that. So brownies, pot brownies. I'll say this: if you grow it and you understand what's in your cannabis, and you apply just a little bit of math, and you make your own infused cannabis oil or cannabis butter, then you can do some math and make your own most delicious brownie recipe or cookie or just about anything. I think I could actually infuse anything that we could eat, but you can do so with an eye towards how much THC, and that's the big one to watch out for, is in each
Right.
serving. So by doing a little bit of math, you can
Oh,
control exactly how much THC is in any given serving of that batch of brownies. And I give some easy to use formulas for trying to predict the potency of your cannabis butter and then using that in just the right amount to get the right effect. Now, one of my favorite treats, and it's very giftable recipes in my book, is you make a cannabis butter or you infuse fat, then you use a certain amount of that and you make delicious chocolate sauce. You can put it in jars, you label it with just exactly how much is in there, and then people will know, oh, I'm going to have 1 ounce of this or a little scoop on my ice cream. It'll be a just perfect dose to be just the elevation I want. Now, those people who are more experienced with cannabis have a little bit higher tolerance. They can make theirs stronger. But the reason why people were scared about cannabis gummies is because people were not calculating just how potent those brownies could be. And as you and I both know, with edibles, they take a long time to kick in. And by the time it's kicked in, you might have had too many brownies. So it's real important to get that dosing just right.
yeah. And the chocolate sauce, I mean, some people will say to me, and this makes sense. Oh, yeah, but if you have brownies and the dosing is minimal, and you'll have maybe 2 milligrams to 5 milligrams of THC per brownie, but I want to eat 5 brownies. Well, okay, have one pot brownie and then eat a couple other non-spiked brownies.
That's right.
So
And I think once you grow the plant and you spend time with it and you harvest it and then you do a little bit of research, it really demystifies this plant. And by demystifying, taking the fear out of it, you're able then to get a little bit more real and enjoy its health and enjoyment benefits without being worried about being overexposed to this.
And
And
it's like cooking with anything else, where I know how much hot sauce I could tolerate. I know some people are like, is there pepper in that? I can't eat it. Okay, well, you said you learned.
Absolutely. I think that hot peppers is a perfect analogy. But imagine a hot pepper where you eat it and the heat doesn't kick in for an hour.
Oh, that's great.
So we get
That's
immediate feedback
great. That's
with every
great.
other thing we taste, but cannabis is not like that. It takes a long time for edibles, especially fat-based edibles, to kick in. And then it's got a long duration. So that's a great thing for other applications, like sleeping is an ideal time to have just the right little edible because it lasts the whole night or a good portion of it, but not so at a social event. So but that's something you can do. And there's another little gift that's a little bit more advanced is I make a cannabis oil. Some people might know it as Rick Simpson oil. It's just a pure cannabis concentrate. I use a special piece of equipment for that that's not all that complicated, but it just allows me to concentrate my cannabis, and I put it in my favorite is a salve that I like to call magic salve. And I've provided a simple recipe for that in my book. But that's like the third way, and that cannot get you high, but it's incredibly soothing, and it's something you use on your skin.
As a topical.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I love a nice magic salve for aches and pains. I've even used it for mosquito bites, and it's incredible. Have
For
you have
sure.
you
And
yeah.
as we're talking about Black Friday and gift giving, let's just back that train up
Yes.
one more step because the reason why we give gifts is that it's a season of celebration. It's also a season of we're wishing each other peace and goodwill. Well,
And
and
gratitude.
gratitude, if you are giving people the gift that gives them the ability to have a little bit less anxiety, a little bit less pain, a little bit less
Oh.
sort of existential suffering in their lives, I just think that that's a perfect fit with the season. And then if you calm down and have a CBD gummy, get a little bit elevated in the evening, I think it's actually going to break cycles of anxiety and worry and feeling this, I don't know, push to outdo one another perhaps, which is antithetical to the season. But I just think it's a great fit with the season entirely.
Well, it's stressful. I mean, kids
Yeah.
are home from college, patterns are interrupted. Everything is you're seeing people you haven't seen in a long time, who's still together, who God forbid passed away, who's no longer together. Um, you get big groups of people together that you don't normally do. You're off your routine. It's an exciting time, but it's a very, very stressful time.
It really can be, especially for um, those who I feel the effects of social anxiety. And I think all of us get that to a greater or lesser extent.
Oh,
There are
yes.
some people who just have a little bit more sensitivity to, ooh, I got to go to the office party, or it's going to be a big group, and for whatever reason, I'm feeling a little nervous. I actually think that a low dose edible or a low dose little tincture can really help offset that in a way that alcohol doesn't. It hits differently. I make low dose gummies, and I have named them. And for my husband, I'll just say I make them for him. I call them mood lifters because
Oh,
I'm a
hey.
total party gal. There is nothing that will make me nervous going to a party. But when you go to you're just having one of those days and you need a little bit of mood switch. It's subtle and it's nothing you want to rely upon overly much, but it's just subtle and it breaks a cycle of negativity sometimes, helps you to enjoy situations rather than just enduring them.
It does, but I can say anecdotally, you don't rely on it. I haven't relied on it. I've the fact that it has changed my mood or lift that negativity that I might be knee jerk in certain situations or that anxiety in a certain social having the experience of it lifted, it becomes experiential. You've had this like corrective emotional experience. Once you experience it and it helps you to experience it, then it's easier to not need it to get to that space. But
Uh,
unless you've been to that space of relaxation, you don't know how to get there. You don't even know what you're seeking.
yes, for sure.
So the chocolate sauce, the salve, the tisanes. What are some of your fans' favorites?
Oh, fan
Good, good.
gosh, so much. Well, I have to just say my number one fan favorite once people have tried it, definitely the Magic Salve. So that is
Okay.
huge
Over
fan
the
favorite.
chocolate sauce. Over the chocolate
Over
sauce.
the chocolate sauce because that's
Wow.
for everybody, even people who have really had a number done on them by the war on drugs. And I'll just say that's everybody over the age of 40. Number two would have to be the chocolate sauce. It's just absolutely delicious. It's super simple to make. Probably the third thing would be one of my many flavors of gummies. Now, we are aware of gummies at the store. The ones that I have in my recipe, in my book, um, are a little lighter and fresher. I always rely upon natural ingredients. Like yesterday in my class, we made Meyer lemon gummies, and they were just exquisite.
Ooh.
So they use gelatin, they use some sugar, and it uses a cannabis tincture in the gummy recipe. So it's a way of getting a low dose of cannabis, and you're in charge of what's in that tincture. It could be raw, it could be decarbed, it could be THC, it could be CBD, it could be the both. You can make custom gummies, and they're fast to make and really delicious and quite low dose. So there's little risk of overconsumption because they're just one little gummy at a time.
It's fun. I mean, this is also the holidays, gifting, meaningful gifts, and baking, cooking.
And in my book, there is, oh gosh, the I have a recipe for giant cheesy goldfish, and they look like goldfish crackers. They
I
taste
saw
absolutely
that.
delicious. And so again, they're one serving is one big cracker. So as long
Okay.
as you're like, how many crackers do I think people are going to make? Or maybe you package them up in like two little crackers and make sure that
Yeah,
they're just like 2 milligrams each so people
sure.
feel confident. Oh, they'll get a nice little buzz after a while, but just eat that. So you can do savories
Yeah.
too.
And for beginners, that's a really good starting dose. I would like to know just for just everyday wellness, your self-care routine, just your baseline, what you take in the morning and throughout the day and in the evening. So
For sure. I
tell
mean,
me how you reap the benefits of your crop. Go ahead,
people,
just for yourself personally, your self-care routine. And look, I've never, ever, ever thought about Penny Barthel and Stoner in the same sentence. Not that you won't take it to elevate and on special occasions, but you are the epitome of someone who uses it responsibly.
thank
So
you. I appreciate
don't
that.
worry, guys. It's going to lead to having your own beautiful backyard garden and having the most popular gifts. Go ahead, Penny. How do you
Yes.
integrate it? How do you take it daily?
People who express surprise like you grow cannabis? I'm like, yeah. And they'll some get cheeky and like, why are you high right now? I'm like, I'm not, but I like to say this. I enjoy cannabis every day and I'm rarely stoned. If I want to be stoned, that's fine, but that's my reality. So I make a raw tincture that has CBDA and THCA both in it every single morning. I take a pint of water. I throw in some lemon juice from one of my trees. I put in several squirts of my raw cannabinoids. Boom. I'm hydrated. I'm feeling good. And I trust that those things will help to keep down chronic inflammation, basic chronic inflammation due to just getting older. So that's one thing that I do. I don't have a sense of that. It doesn't make me alter my perception of myself at all. Often, then times during the day, I will rub a topical on my joints in my hands, my knee if it's acting up. I mean, I was in a 10K race this morning. I will be using salve on my knee later on today. I can tell you that. And then often before I go to bed, I'll have a little chocolate heart that I make that has a low dose of THC in it, which I find to be very helpful and helps to promote relaxing sleep for me. That is particular to me. And each of you will need to figure these things out for yourself. This is not a prescription, it's just my practice. And so, with you and knowing what your health issues are, what your needs are, you have those things available to you. But that's just my baseline. And then there are times when I
And
do want to like test out a
that's
new weed that I just grew. And here's one. It's on my desk. This is a little sprig of Royal Highness, and it's
ooh.
Really powerful. It's delicious. It's really cushy.
What does it smell like? What does it smell like?
Oh, it has what I describe as a classic Kush smell. So here, can you hear it?
Yeah,
It smells great. It smells
that's
fresh. It has a lot of hits of like pine and just like you walked out into a wet forest in the Northwest. It smells amazing.
and the nose knows. That's
The nose
another
knows.
episode. That's another episode. But folks, when you're worried about, well, the predictability now, I don't know how it's going to affect me. What Penny just did, smell it, just like you smell, and see how it hits you. See where it hits you. Getting to your baseline, we're not saying to give any of these things up, but wow, to add that pint of water with cannabinoids to my cup of coffee instead of just having caffeine, which is also legal, I think would probably do me good. To add the magic salve and cut down on the ibuprofen, oh, I think my gut would appreciate that so much.
Definitely.
And then in the evening, to take a chocolate heart instead of a pharmaceutical sleeping pill or a bunch of wine, nothing against that. You could still have that. You might find you're having less.
Indeed.
And you're having less of something that's serving you, but also has negative effects. And you're replacing it or, cutting down on it, diluting it with something that has the same effects and is actually, can't make health claims, but as the research will show, as we get even more and more studies, but there's a lot of peer-reviewed studies about the antioxidant effects and the anti-inflammatory effects of the medicinal benefits of cannabis. It's a magic plant. Yeah. Well, and then in closing, we always ask our guest, we have a segment called Nip It in the Bud, because we want to break the stigma. And I'm going to ask you, what is maybe one of your top cannabis misconceptions, a myth you'd like to clarify? It was framed. Let's nip it in the bud. Do you have a common misconception that you'd like to debunk?
Yes, the common misconception is that cannabis always gets you stoned. It does not. Cannabis is not one
That's a
plant.
good one.
If you buy cannabis that's all CBD, guess what? You can roll a joint. You can look as cool and as hip as you possibly want. You can smoke all night. You will not get stoned. You'll be super relaxed. So you just got to know what's in your weed. But no, there's way more than THC, as much as that is a fabulous molecule. And it is medical in addition to being super fun and gets you high. Cannabis is much more than just getting high.
Much more than the promise of a high, and there's many things. Hey, today people are chasing sales, not chasing a high, but we'll see. They might come home and want to chase a high. I think they might want the CBD after the Black Friday. So well, Penny, and we have one other segment. We have consumer insights and tips. I mean, this entire interview was one big consumer insight and tip. I really love knowing the intention behind what do you want to have your cannabis for, and understanding who's behind it.
Absolutely. There are, in addition to the Humboldt Seed Company and Grow It From Home, there are a wonderful array of just delightful companies. I think the cannabis industry has some of the most creative and integrity-filled people in business today, but they are under duress in terms of the licensed dispensaries. There's a pretty onerous tax burden that we, the people in California, have put on them. So be aware of how that impacts them. But there's some phenomenal products out there. Go to a really good dispensary. And by good, I mean you get to know them. Who owns them? Are they serving their community? Are they owned by Black people, by women, by queer people? You got to figure out what your values are and then go find a dispensary that meets them. So that's the first thing. And the second is then ask them questions. There are bud tenders who are really well informed and they can help you pick out products. Let's just say you haven't grown your own cannabis, but you love using it. You can go try things at a dispensary and then kind of DIY them yourself next year. That's kind of how I got started making my own products. I loved some of the things that I tried in dispensaries, and I still go to dispensaries and look at their offerings. I'll buy them on occasion, so it's not mutually exclusive. So go to a really good dispensary and try things there, and that will help inform what you make at home. It's sort of like going to a great restaurant. You get inspired, you can come home and go, wow, I can make
Right.
my own things like
I
that
gotta
too.
try that. Yep. Wow, 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 wow. What an amazing conversation today with you, Penny. I got to get you in studio because I would like a hug.
Virtual.
You know, yeah, we'll do a virtual hug. This has just been such a refreshing reminder that, we're at the beginning of the holiday season, but it's a season. It's a season that should last all year, not be dictated. I like to say to people, it's a state of mind, guys, not a date. So, it doesn't have to be about buying more stuff. I know, and I know I do it myself. You should see how many treats and bones my dog has. I just want to shower her. And is it that about me or is it about her? What does she need? It's not, I know you want to make an impact on somebody. Buy this book, Grow It From Home. Make
Amen.
something. Yeah, you'll be the most, I tell you, I've become the most popular aunt in our family, but yeah, I'm sure you are too, Penny.
Yeah, my
But
coolness ranking did go up several notches.
right? Doesn't it
Wait,
go up?
what? Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah, and it is cool. To recap on the key takeaways from our talk today, Penny, shared some fantastic advice on how to start planning your own cannabis garden. Whether you're dreaming about it now or ready to roll up your sleeves come spring, it's the perfect time to think about what you'd like to grow and what you want to get from it. Why do you want to grow it? Whether you're a seasoned grower or just starting out, this book is fantastic. It is not overwhelming. It's going to guide you through the process of growing, harvesting, and all the multiple ways you can enjoy cannabis in all of its many forms, including gifting it. So don't forget, we've got more resources waiting for you at greenbeelife.com. She mentioned Emily Gogol, Grow It From Home. We have some fantastic growing guides and a whole playlist on GBL TV with Emily showing us how to make herbal teas, how to start your garden with seed, to treats for your pets. Whether you're looking to learn, create, or shop, we've got something for you. As we wrap up today, I want to share a final thought. Let's make this holiday season a time for mindfulness, relaxation, and creativity. Let's focus on what really matters. Just connecting while making the cookies, not whether your kid got the right amount of butter in it. I know that matters, and sometimes, you're stressed, you lose it. Let's remember what's important. It's the connection and the feeling that's being fostered. And then whether you're crafting your own cannabis-infused holiday gifts or just taking a moment to pause and recharge, remember that you've got the power to make this season meaningful in a way that's meaningful to you. So thank you so much for joining us on Just Say No today. That's no with a K, K-N-O-W. We now have grown our no, grow your no. And I hope you leave feeling inspired and ready to take a new green approach to your holiday season, at least your Black Friday. Until next time, take care, stay curious, and remember, your self-care matters. Keep exploring, keep creating, keep listening, and as always, just say no. Just Say No is a Green Bee Life presentation airing live weekly on Friday afternoons from 4 to 5 p.m. Pacific on KCA Radio and KCAA TV. Archived audio episodes are on Green Bee Life, greenbeelife.com, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and most third-party major platforms. For archived videos, check them out on GBL TV, on Green Bee Life, YouTube, and Rumble. To follow us, our Instagram and Facebook is at Just Say No Radio. To apply to be a guest on the show or for sponsorship and advertising opportunities, go to greenbeelife.com/Just Say No, and feel free to reach out to me, Maria, for any questions. I'm at maria@greenbeelife.com, or call me at 818-758-6925.